Silent calls and mischances. The night love couldn't save you, Menglong. The night was quiet, too quiet for a man whose life had always been surrounded by noise, applause, flashing lights, and the hum of fame. But that silence was not peace. It was the stillness before tragedy. Yu Menglong, the man the world adored for his soft voice and tender screen presence, was alone. And somewhere across the city, the woman who once held his heart was dialing his number again and again, praying he would answer just one more time. It was past midnight when her first call went unanswered. Maybe he was asleep, she told herself. Maybe he was filming again, lost in another character. But deep down, something in her chest tightened, a silent alarm that something was terribly wrong. For weeks, they hadn't spoken properly. The words that used to heal had turned into weapons. Their love, once a gentle escape from the world's chaos, had become its own battlefield. He had withdrawn, slower each day, smiling less, texting rarely. And when he did, his messages sounded like farewells hidden behind casual phrases. That night, she couldn't sleep. Something about his silence felt final. She scrolled through their old messages, the confessions, the laughter, the plans they made when the world was still kind. "Promise me," he had once said, "no matter how bad things get, you'll still call me." So she did, again and again, but he never picked up. Yu Menglong sat in his apartment, the phone screen lighting up every few minutes. He saw her name, glowing softly like a heartbeat on his nightstand. He wanted to answer, he really did, but his mind was a storm he couldn't calm. The world had taken too much from him: privacy, peace, trust, and now, even the strength to say, "I'm not okay." He stared at the screen, his reflection blurred by tears he didn't wipe away. Every ring felt like a lifeline he couldn't grasp. He was drowning quietly, and the world outside had no idea. Earlier that evening, he had walked through the city alone, his hoodie pulled low, blending into the faceless crowd. The streets were alive, lovers holding hands, laughter spilling from cafes. He wondered if anyone could see it, the way his soul was breaking behind that calm exterior. He had always been good at pretending. Too good. In public, he was the perfect image of serenity, polite, composed, kind. But when the cameras turned off, the loneliness hit like a wave. The same people who praised his beauty and voice never truly saw him. They saw the star, not the man who cried quietly in dressing rooms after every performance. By the time he returned home that night, the weight of it all, the failed love, the rumors, the exhaustion, had become unbearable. He sat by the window, looking at the city lights, whispering words only he could hear. "I tried," he said softly. "I really did." His phone rang again. Her name, the one person who might have pulled him back. But guilt had already chained him down. He thought of the last argument they had, her tears, his silence, the cruel words said in pain. He believed he had destroyed too much to deserve her forgiveness. So he didn't pick up. On the other end of the city, she was pacing her apartment floor, tears streaming down her face. She left him voice messages, soft at first, then desperate. "Please, Menglong, talk to me. I don't care what happened. I just need to hear your voice." Another call. "I know you're hurting. Don't shut me out, please." Another. "If you're listening, just say something. Anything." But the only reply was silence. Around 2 a.m., she drove to his building. She didn't even think, just grabbed her keys, her phone still in her hand, and drove through the empty streets. Every red light felt like a punishment for being too late. She kept calling, hoping this time he'd answer, hoping this wasn't the night her intuition was right. When she arrived, the security guard recognized her and hesitated. She was crying too hard to speak, only managing his name between sobs. The guard's face went pale before he turned away, calling someone urgently. That was when she knew, even before they told her, that she was too late. Inside his apartment, the world had gone still. The phone was still, glowing faintly on the table, her name frozen on the screen. He had seen the last call. He just couldn't bring himself to answer. The silence that filled the room was the kind that never ends. The news broke hours later, headlines flashing across every platform. Actor Yu Menglong found dead in his home. The world went into shock. Fans flooded his social media with disbelief, scrolling through his last post, searching for hidden meanings. He had written only 3 words days before, "Thank you all." No one had understood then how final those words were, but she did. She read them over and over again, realizing they weren't a message to fans. They were a goodbye disguised as gratitude. She blamed herself, as broken hearts often do. If she had gone sooner, if she had said the right thing, if she had just stayed on the line a little longer, maybe the story would have ended differently. In the days that followed, she played his old voice notes repeatedly, listening to the way he used to laugh, the way he said her name like it was music. Every sound became a memory she couldn't let go of. The silence that once scared her now became her only connection to him. People around the world mourned him, but only she knew the truth of that night, the missed calls, the unanswered messages, the desperate hope that love could still save him. She carried that pain like a secret, refusing interviews, turning away from cameras. She didn't want sympathy. She wanted time to undo what couldn't be undone. She visited his apartment one last time weeks later. The building was quieter now, the neighbors speaking in whispers. Inside, everything was the same, his books neatly stacked, his guitar in the corner, and his phone still on the table, untouched since that night. She picked it up, scrolling through their chat, her tears falling silently onto the screen. Her last message still sat there, unread. "Please don't give up on me." The irony was cruel. The world thought his story ended with fame and tragedy, but for her it ended with a ringing phone in the dark, a sound she can still hear in her sleep. There are moments in life when one call can change everything, and there are nights when even love, as strong as it is, arrives too late. That night was both. The sound of his phone ringing became the last song of their story, a melody of what-ifs and almosts. She often wondered what he thought as he watched it light up again and again. Did he hesitate? Did he want to answer? Did he whisper her name one last time before the silence took over? No one will ever know. Now, every year on that date, she calls his number. It no longer connects, but she calls anyway, a ritual for the heart that refuses to forget. She whispers into the emptiness, "I'm still here." It's her way of speaking to a ghost, of pretending love still echoes somewhere in that silence. The world moved on as it always does. New actors rose, new songs played, but his story remained, a haunting reminder of how fragile hearts can be beneath the glitter of fame. Fans still write him letters, still play his old songs, still believe he was too gentle for the world that broke him. And in every tribute, every candle lit in his name, there's an unspoken truth that love, no matter how deep, can sometimes lose its race against time. The world saw the headlines, the tragic news that shattered hearts overnight, but no one truly knew what happened in those final hours. Only a phone that kept ringing in an empty room bore witness to the story love couldn't rewrite. That night wasn't meant to end in silence. It was supposed to be another evening of missed words, another quiet argument that would heal by morning. But fate had grown tired of giving them chances. For weeks, Yu Menglong had been slipping. Not dramatically, not publicly, just quietly fading in small ways. Smiles that didn't reach his eyes. Messages that went unanswered. A growing distance that no amount of love seemed able to bridge. She had felt it long before the final call. Every time his name appeared on her phone, her heart raced with both joy and fear. Joy because it was him. Fear because she never knew which version of him she'd get. The bright, playful man who made her laugh in the rain, or the quiet, broken soul who barely spoke at all. The last time they met, it was raining, soft, cold rain that soaked through their clothes but couldn't wash away the sadness. They had argued, not loudly but painfully. Every word came out trembling, full of love and regret. He had told her, "You don't understand. I'm tired. and she had said the worst possible thing. Then rest, I'll be here when you're ready. She meant it as comfort, but in his mind it sounded like permission to give up. That night replayed in her head endlessly. If she had held him longer, if she had said, "Don't leave me," maybe he would have stayed. But love, no matter how deep, sometimes speaks the wrong language when hearts are breaking. Back in his apartment, Menglong walked through the rooms like a ghost before the world even lost him. Every wall held memories, photos of moments that once felt infinite. The framed picture of her laughing, the one he refused to take down even after their fights. The guitar they used to play together, the one still missing a string because she broke it by accident and he said he'd never fix it. It's perfect that way, he had smiled, just like us. But perfection doesn't survive in silence. He sat on the couch, staring at that guitar for a long time. His phone buzzed again, her name lighting up the screen like a small miracle. His fingers trembled, hovering above the accept button. For a moment, he almost did. For a moment, he almost let love win. But then a voice in his head whispered all the things he feared she'd say. The disappointment, the questions, the hurt. And he couldn't bear to break her heart one more time. So he let it ring. She called again, pacing the floor of her apartment, her tears falling freely. She was whispering his name into the phone like a prayer. "Please, Menglong. I'm scared. Just talk to me." She didn't care about the arguments anymore, didn't care who was wrong. She just wanted to hear his voice. When he didn't answer, she recorded a voice note, her voice shaking but full of love. "I don't know what's happening, but please listen to me. You're not alone. I'm here, okay? No matter what, I'm still here." It never got delivered. The next morning, the voice note showed unread. That tiny gray check mark became the heaviest thing she had ever seen. It was proof that he had never heard her one last promise. In the hours after his passing, the world began to piece together fragments of his final moments. The unanswered messages, the dim light of his phone, the music still playing softly from his speaker, a song he had written but never released. It was raw, almost painful to hear. The lyrics spoke of endings, of stars fading, of love calling from a distance. It was as if he had written his goodbye into melody long before that night. When she finally heard the song, it broke her completely. She played it over and over, memorizing every line, every breath. The world called it his final composition, but she knew what it really was, a message meant for her. She started visiting the places they used to go together. The bridge where they made a wish on the first day of spring, the small cafe where he'd hide behind sunglasses and pretend not to be recognized. Every corner of the city carried his ghost. Every sound reminded her of the laughter that used to fill the spaces between them. Sometimes she'd imagine what would have happened if he had picked up the phone that night. Would he have cried? Would he have let her hold him through the storm? Would he have found enough strength in her voice to see one more sunrise? The questions haunted her endlessly. But the cruel truth is that love doesn't always arrive in time. It tries. It runs. It screams through the dark. But sometimes the person it's trying to save has already decided to let go. Months passed, but the memory of that night never left her. She began writing letters she would never send. Letters filled with the words she wished she'd said. "I would have stayed," one letter read. "I would have fought every demon with you. I just needed you to answer." She started calling his number again, not because she expected an answer, but because she couldn't bear the idea of silence. The number had been disconnected, but still she called. Each ring felt like a heartbeat, a connection to the man she loved and lost. His fans built memorials in his name, flowers, candles, posters with his smile frozen in time. To the world, he was an icon gone too soon. But to her, he was still just Menglong, the boy who once got shy when she held his hand in public, the man who hummed love songs under his breath, the soul who just wanted peace. And though the world would never know the full story, she carried it quietly, the guilt, the pain, the love that didn't die even when he did. She once told a friend, "People think death is the end. But for me, it's every night the phone doesn't ring back." Now, Every year, on the anniversary of his passing, she stands under that same rain-soaked sky where they last said goodbye. She closes her eyes, whispers his name, and lets the rain wash away her tears. And just for a second, she swears she feels him there, in the breeze, in the drops, in the quiet, because love, even when it fails to save, never really disappears. It lingers, it echoes, it calls, endlessly, into the silence that took him away. That night may have ended his story, but their love remains written in the spaces between rings, in the messages left unsent, in the silence that still answers back when she calls his name. And though she never got to say goodbye, maybe somewhere beyond the noise of the world, he finally heard her voice, soft, trembling, full of love, saying what he always needed to hear: "You were never alone."